Now, hey, don't get me wrong. The idea of having multiple women in this fantasy land world sounds good, but it only causes problems. Let's talk about some of those problems today. Man, you'll be surprised what the Bible has to say. Let's go. What's up, y'all, man? This episode is going to be good because the same issues that was in the Bible are in like today. It's in the world today. But the crazy thing is, most people are going to say, man, hey, I ain't see yet no passage that say, multiple women is wrong, polygamy is wrong, and all these different things. Well, let's dive into this and let's get through this because I want to get in and get out. So first, let's start with this, because first in Genesis, we already seen how God created the world and said that the two should become one flesh. Right there, we see that God's intention is for two people to come together and be one flesh. Furthermore, everything that happened before the law and everything that happened after the law should be taken by Christians as serious. What do I mean? Everything that was in the law of Moses to the children of Israel, those things are supposed to be examples and taken serious in the way that they're supposed to be examples as per 1 Corinthians chapter 10. But the things that happened before the law and the things that happened after the law in the New Testament, we should be taken even more serious, because those things signify a heart of God. Like, regardless if I gave you this law of Israel or not, those things are good. Those things are my design. Those things are, varied. They are across all people, all races, all creeds, because I made everybody to image man, woman, child. I made everybody. The law was for my people, but I made everybody to mimic this two becoming one flesh. I made everybody that way. So if that's the God's design, then that means it's for all people. But to get even more, in Deuteronomy 17 talks about those in leadership. It says that here, let's read it. Deuteronomy 17, 14 through 17. When you come to the land which the Lord your God is giving you, and possess it and dwell in it, and say, I will set a king over me like all the other nations that are around me. That's a problem right there, because God told him about that. You shall surely set a king over you, whom the Lord your God chooses. From among your brethren you shall set a king over you. You may not set a foreigner over you, who is not your brother. But he shall not multiply their horses for himself, nor cause people to return to Egypt to multiply their horses. For the Lord has said to you, you shall not return that way again. Neither shall the king multiply wives for himself, lest his heart turn away. This is what I want to get at. When I tell you there are practical ways to God's law, like God's laws, God's ways, they are practical. He said, do not multiply wives, talking to the kings, because they will turn your heart away. King Solomon saw this. Multiple, 1,000 concubines or 300 concubines, 1,000 wives, however the large number was. They turned his heart after foreign gods. This made God super upset. But let's take it even more. Let's look at this and say, when you multiply wives or multiply women among yourselves, what is going to happen? You're going to have conflict, and one is going to turn your heart against the other. You'd be like, dude, I can handle both of them. You cannot. I'm telling you, one is going to turn your heart against the other. Let's look at the example, because y'all saying, oh, that ain't true. Whoever's saying it. This crazy story. So Genesis 30. This story right here is crazy. Genesis 30. We have Jacob, who he's like, hey, okay. He has a certain guy that he knows, close, either relative or family. and he's like, hey man, your daughter, man, she's beautiful. Rachel is beautiful. And you're like, okay, I'm gonna work 6 years till I need her. So the father, he said, okay, let's go. You work, and then you work, and you can get, after 6 years, 7 years, you can get my daughter. After that 7 years was up, Jacob was like, okay, I'm ready. Where's she at? He's like, you know what? My older daughter, you got to take her instead. You got to marry her instead, because like, it's our custom to not to give the younger daughter, which was Rachel, before the older daughter named Leah. So here are the problems, because Jacob was like, okay, I'll work 7 more years, because Rachel, who I really wanted, that's who I really wanted. So let me work 7 more years to get her, because the first 7 years he worked, he had to get Leah. So let's see this crazy story. So it says, now when Rachel saw that she bore Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister and said to Jacob, give me children or else I die. Jacob's anger was aroused against Rachel, and he said, am I in the place of God who withheld the fruit of your womb? So she said, here's my maid, Bilhah, go into her, and she'll bear your child on my knees, that I may have children by her. Then she gave Bilhah her maid as the wife to be for Jacob. And he went in her, and the maid conceived and bore Jacob a son. Then Rachel said, God has judged my case, and he has also heard my voice and given me a son. Therefore she should call his name Dan. Okay, now look, now keep hearing this. Rachel's maid conceived again, bore Jacob's second son. And then Rachel said, with great wrestlings I have wrestled with my sister, and indeed I have prevailed. So she called his name Naphtali, because the two were sisters, Leah and Rachel. Jacob loved Rachel. The first 7 years he worked, he had got Leah, and that was a raw deal. So he's like, I'm going to work 7 more years to get Rachel, who I really want. So now Jacob has both of them as a wife, and he had to sleep with Rachel's maid to get a child by Rachel, because Rachel's like, I'm sick of not having children. So let's look at this. When Leah saw that she had stopped bearing, she took Zilpah, her maid, and gave to Jacob as wife. Then Leah said, a troop comes. So she called his name Gad. And Leah's maid Zilpah bore Jacob a second son. Then Leah said, I am happy, for the daughters will call me blessed. She called his name Asher. Now Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest and found mandrakes in the field, and brought them to his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, please give me some of your son's mandrakes. But she said to her, it is a small matter that you have taken away my husband. Will you also take away my son's mandrakes also? And Rachel said, therefore he would lie with you tonight for your son's mandrakes. When Jacob came out of the field in Eden, Leah went in to meet him and said, you must come in to me, for I have surely hired you with my son's mandrakes. And he lay with her that night. This is crazy. So you got two women battling each other about who can have the most children. Rachel wanted some of the son's items, his mandrakes, and then she's like, okay, is this a small matter that you already took my husband? Leah said, you already took my husband because he worked 7 years and he got me. And Rachel, in her mind, she's like, hey, he really wanted me. So why you even tripping? Okay, he'll come in, sleep with you tonight, and then okay, now I can have your son's mandrakes. So you see the problems that can occur. You think this is just in the Bible? There's stuff in real life where you have competing baby mothers who are competing and talking about my child is less important than your other baby mama's child. Oh, now the two childs are competing because one has a football game, one has a soccer game, and now both are like, who you gonna go to? One has football practice and I gotta get my hair done. Oh, you need to go take him. But your other lady who you got said that, oh no, we have a recital for your little baby girl. You see the problems that this causes. Practical problems of having multiple competing women by a man who has not challenged himself to settle down and be with the one that God has called him to be. Now, in his case, this was a different time because he actually, you had to work and you had to earn the right to take a man's daughter. So he did 7 years and said, I wanted her. But the problem is the business was shady. So, hey, the business was shady with the guy. So he's like, you're going to get my first daughter and then you get my second daughter. But now, so he just stuck with two wives. But you just see the problem that it causes the two wives. And Jacob, he ain't helping himself because, I mean, hey, he's like, you sleep with me. You sleep with me. The maid sleep with me. This man, that man rolling. And I mean, from his point of view, he's probably like, hey. So, but he's not making it any better and saying, let's stop this. Let's get with the program. Let's understand who we are as children of the God of Israel. Let's get with the program and get right. But he didn't do that. The problem is with all of this is, will you let your ego as a man and say, man, nobody said I can't have multiple women. As long as I treat them all right, I promise you, we already saw the scripture, that wasn't God's design. But even if you go practically, it does not work because in this passage it said that Rachel he loved and then Leah he despised. And you know what happened? God said, he looked down on Leah and said, because I see that you are despised by your husband and not treated properly, I'm going to open up your womb. So the problem is that one person or the other, you are going to have a favorite. You are going to despise one and love the other at times. This was never God's design. It's the design should be for one woman, all your love to her, all your devotion, and all your focus. Because this is the way the God of the universe designed it for his people. I know, it's tough, but you got to contain that beast. You got to contain that beast that's saying, oh, I can sleep around, I can do this, do that with multiple women. You got to contain it. And you can do it in Christ as a believer to the glory of God the Father. Man, I hope y'all enjoyed this episode. It is crazy, but it is manageable and we can do it. So I'll see y'all next time. Another episode, next one. Hopefully it's just as good as this one. I'll see you, Lord's willing. Peace.